Well, good morning, everybody. I know it's a minute after the hour. Just want to make sure everybody's getting logged in. So we'll just do some of our introductions from the MHTTC and then we'll get to the good stuff. I just want to thank everybody for joining us today. We are here with Rebecca Demeril again. If you have not been part of her series before, you will be excited. Just a reminder, we are using Poll Everywhere to do a word cloud. It's been very fun to do each time. Just ask, how are you feeling today, or something of that nature. So you can either text it or do the URL that's listed here. You can't click on this, obviously, but that is, we'll put the URL in the chat actually, and make sure if Rebecca didn't already do that. Okay, so I'm putting in here we go. You can click on that and you should be able to enter your answer into the word cloud. So we're here about head, heart, and gut in the We Make the Path by Walking with Rebecca. Just a little bit of information about our MHTTC. Very grateful to be working with Rebecca. The MHTTC network is a nationwide network that is supported by the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, otherwise known as SAMHSA. And so we are here to disseminate evidence-based practices and other important things into the workforce. That includes webinars, includes training, learning communities, research and practice briefs, and that sort of thing. So we're here to support the workforce in Region 10. A little bit about our specific Northwest MHTTC. We specifically have an area of focus around serious mental health issues, serious mental illness, and evidence-based practices. And so that's what our sort of specialty is. It's not the only topic that we train on, though. And our workforce is really anyone who works in the field that is helping those with mental health conditions and in the mental health field in any way. My name is Christina, and one of the co-directors, I always forget to say that. And so we have a lot of different events, so live webinars, recordings, and other things, as I mentioned. So if you ever want to know more, you can look at our website here and sign up for our newsletter. We'll put some of those links in our chat as well. Just being mindful, it's not an interactive session in the same way, but we just want to always be mindful of using language that is recovery oriented and supportive and person first and free of labels. Logistics. We have not had any Zoom issues with our events before, but if there was something to happen, we'll get back to you using your registration information. It's a pretty big audience, so you're muted, you're not on video. You can chat with the group though. The presentation is being recorded. And just as a heads up, because people always ask, the slides and the recording will be available within a couple of weeks. And you'll be notified of that by email. If you're writing in a question in the Q&A box, which I'll go over in a second, just be mindful of not disclosing any identifying details about, HIPAA violation type things. We don't want that. Evaluation. So your feedback is crucial, and we'll give you a link near the end of the session, but we really take this seriously. SAMHSA, of course, requires this, but we actually give the feedback to Rebecca. We give it to our other presenters. We look at it as a team. It's all confidential and aggregated, but we just like to know, was this in the realm of what you appreciated? Would you like something different? Did you really like it and want to see it again? So it's really helpful to us, helps the free training keep going. So the chat, you can use the chat amongst yourselves. Most times I've seen no one's chatting when Rebecca's speaking because all of her stuff is really compelling and interesting. But feel free, if you have a tech issue, we are here to assist. If you have a question that comes to your mind at any time during the session, you can type it into the Q&A box. We are unable to copy from the chat. If you type your question accidentally there, it just doesn't allow us to do that. So we might just ask you if you can put it in the Q&A. But Rebecca is really happy to take questions at the end. It's great discussion for her to think about. So anytime something comes to mind, just chat it in and we'll save those for the end. SAMHSA sponsors this work. Doesn't reflect the official position on this content. We just have to put this in there. Now the important part. Very excited to welcome back again, Rebecca. This is, I think, the fourth session you've had with us. She is the founder and director of Trauma Integrations Programs with more than a decade as an ambulance paramedic, 22 years as a paramedic trainer, 18 years of mental health counseling, specializing in traumatic stress, and she's also a licensed East Asian medicine practitioner and acupuncturist. Her unique skill set and experience are informed by her own traumatic childhood and teen years spent on the streets and in the foster care system, giving her a special familiarity and empathy for trauma and loss. Personally, I've known Rebecca for a while, and I just always feel better when she speaks to us. So I'm very selfishly here every time, not just because I have to. So I did want to also say in the chat, let's see, I think Rebecca on our staff is going to put in the chat a handout that at some point we will get to. So we put it on our website. So Rebecca on our team will put that in the chat so you can get to that when we have that. There we go. Okay. So we're going to go to our word cloud. Oh, people are already doing it. My goodness, this is different than the first week. This is great. So putting the how to in the beginning has really helped. So we'll just let you chime in some answers. I think you're allowed to put in as many answers as you want. Wow, that's great. A lot of good thoughts. The grateful still keeps winning. That's amazing. Rebecca, okay, so you're
my favorite part to see this. I just love this part.
It's really fun. So glad you're unmuted. And so we're really excited. What we have done in the past is actually taken a screenshot of what ends up being the word cloud and kind of throwing it in with our stuff. So it's really nice to see where people are at today. Sorry, I moved my mouse and now it's going to show that weird stuff on the screen. Okay. Well, I think we'll get to the good stuff. Thanks for putting in your words, and you can keep doing it. We'll save them for later. Oh gosh, yeah, suddenly we have 84 people, so that's great. So I'm going to stop sharing and get it over to Rebecca.
Looks like it worked. Here I am.
Yes.
Hi, everybody. Great to be here with you again. I want to begin by just acknowledging that I live and work on the unceded traditional territories of the Lekwungen-speaking Coast Salish people here in Victoria, British Columbia. And this is their land, and I recognize that I am a visitor here. So I'm grateful to be here with you all. Thank you, Christina. And as Christina said, this is the fourth in a series of We Make the Path by Walking. So I'm grateful that you're here with me today to walk beside me as we talk about the head, heart, and gut. And these are my musings about those things. Okay. So this is what I'd like to cover today. And the purpose is really to explore the origins of how we know what we know. And I say that in the way that kind of our instinctual knowing and the way we know with our minds and the way we know with our hearts. And like I said, these are my musings, and these are the things that I want to share and invite you to explore with me. I want to look at discerning the differences too between what we know intellectually, what we know emotionally, and what we know in our instincts. And the process for this is, and I hope this will be some healing for you too, as it always is for me when I explore these things, is getting more in touch with how we know things in our minds, how we know things emotionally, and how we know things in our guts and our instinctual reasoning, and how to actually integrate these. So all three of these ways of knowing are working together. So I hope you're intrigued. So, there's a certain mystery to what we know. How do we know what we know? How do we trust what we know? Where did we learn to know these things? How did we learn to trust and what not to trust? What's the difference between knowing with our head and our heart and our gut? And what if we don't know? What if we plain just come up with, I don't know? And that's okay too. Emily Dickinson said that wonder is not precisely knowing. So there's a certain mystery and wonder that I also want you to step into with me and embrace, that we don't always have the answers. And sometimes when we say, I don't know, that kind of opens us up to the answers coming in. So as I am a East Asian medicine practitioner and acupuncturist, I'm always looking through that lens. And so I want to invite you to look at how 3 is a sacred number in East Asian philosophy and East Asian medicine. It's because of the 3 treasures, Qi, Jing, and Shen, which I'll talk about in a second. But if you think about it, 3, I mean, we're talking about head, heart, and gut. We're talking about body, mind, and spirit. So all of those things to me all go together. And qi is just the energy from what we breathe and what we eat. It's where we get our energy. Jing is another concept that we don't think a lot about in Western medicine, but Jing is our essence. It's our body fluids, our cerebral spinal fluid, our lymphatic fluids, our sexual fluids. And Shen is our spirit and our soul. And another quote here from a Taoist sage, Lu Tongpin. He says, the human body is entirely composed of essence, energy, and spirit. And if you don't cherish your essence, and if you squander it without reservation, it'd be like pouring water into a cracked cup. So let's not do that. Let's learn how to conserve our energy and how to really treasure what we have. Rebecca's learning how to work the slides here. There we go. So I want to invite you to do one of these exercises. And if you've been doing these broadcasts with me, you'll know that each time we've done something for one of the 5 elements. So we did something for water, we did something for metal, we've done something for earth, and today we're doing something for the wood element, which is associated with the liver. And you know what? Each element is associated with an organ, with an emotion, with a time of year, and with a color, among a whole bunch of other things. There's flavors and there's musical notes and everything. The wood element is associated with the liver and anger and the color green and the time of, ta-da, springtime. So we can see all over our country, all over Canada, all over the US, that we see that spring is coming out. And even if there's snow on the ground, there's little plants underneath there trying to push their way up. And certainly if you're somewhere where it's not so cold, you see buds on the trees and crocuses coming up. And I saw daffodils in the park the other day. So it's a good time to be working on our anger and the wood element and clearing our livers. And so I want to invite you to do this really fun meditation. It's a very old meditation, about 2,500 years old. And as I said, so it is springtime right now, or it's at least it's coming into spring very soon, and it's the most yang of all the elements. It's everything is rising up and moving, and the liver controls the smooth flow of our energy. So it really behooves us to clear our liver energy. So I want to invite you to close your eyes, feel your seat in your chair. Whenever we do these kinds of self-care exercises, it's good to just become present where you are. Feel your seat in your chair, feel your feet on the ground. Allow your jaw to relax. Allow your tongue to kind of float to the roof of your mouth. And just be where you're at. Take a couple normal breaths. So we're going to breathe in. Everybody know where their liver is? It's in the upper right quadrant of your abdomen. So it's kind of tucked underneath your right rib cage. You can put your hands over there if you want. Just hold on to and hug your liver. So we're going to breathe in the color green into our liver, and then we're going to breathe out a sound to clear that anger and clear that liver chi. And we'll do it 3 times. So let's breathe in green. And just think of green grass. And then the sound we breathe out, we just fill that right up with green. And the sound we breathe out is shh. It's like SH, SH, SH. So let's do it again. So breathe in green. And breathing out anger, shh. And you can even put an it on the end if you want. And let's do it one more time. So breathing in green, shh. And just let all the air out of that big floppy liver balloon. So hope that helps you feel a little bit better. Clear some of that liver chi so we get started with talking about the head, heart, and gut. Let's start with our heads and our intellects. So as I said, these are my musings. This is my Rebecca way of trying to figure out how I know things. So I'm just simply sharing it with you and hoping you'll find it interesting, and hoping that you'll have a, you know, open head, or open heart, open mind, open head to all of this. So our intellect is useful for communicating. And when we want to appear knowledgeable, we really depend on our intellect. It's our outward face of what we know. And it's also, you know, we go to school and we earn degrees and we get letters behind our names. And so that's how we actually show to the rest of the world what we know. The thing about the intellect, strong and wonderful as it is, and we need this, but it does tend to overrule some ways of knowing by kind of being the authority and being the boss. And it can block our other ways of knowing. It can block our emotions at times, just if we have a really strong intellect and we really are depending on that for all of our knowing. And it can also block our gut instincts too. So just something to be aware of. It's most helpful, like all of the ways of knowing, it's most helpful when it's integrated with all of our different ways of knowing. And our heart and our feelings can feel very open and expansive, and that can drive our decisions a lot of times. And I know that I'm a person who's really run with my heart a lot of times, and so it's driven my decisions, sometimes for better, sometimes for worse. Sometimes it's made a mess of things because I'm only going with my emotions and not really consulting with my intellect and heart, or even my gut. And, you know, in our society, we sort of consider that matters of the heart are not as important as our intellect or our guts. So they sort of have a certain type of importance, but sometimes they get put off to the side. And this is interesting too, that sometimes instinctual matters of the gut, those feelings can be hard to differentiate from survival and our heart. So all of these things can kind of get twisted together. Sometimes what we think is something from our heart is actually coming from our guts, and vice versa. Okay, I love these slides. They're beautiful. Somebody else helped me with them. So the gut and survival instincts, this is our really deepest sense of knowing. It's really our instinct. It's our survival, our fight or flight response really plugs into our guts. And I'll talk more about that in a sec. Our gut instincts are most easily damaged by trauma, and I'll talk more about that in a sec. And trying to depend only on our guts is a trauma response. So sometimes, and I know I'll speak for myself that I've done this in my life, where I'm only coming from my guts. I'm only making decisions from my guts rather than what my feelings might be telling me, because I've shut those down in my survival instinct, right? In my fight or flight response. And I've also shut down my mind. So this kind of gut instinct can come from a trauma response when we're only depending on that. And again, when we're able to heal and integrate our guts with our intellect and our hearts, that's when we feel whole, and that's when we're resilient, and that's when things work best for us. There's this whole connection between the gut and brain. And if you didn't know this already, you'll find this really interesting, that the gut, meaning where food comes in and all the way down to where it comes out and everything in between, our stomach and large and small intestine, etc., is called the enteric brain. And it has more than 100 million neurotransmitters. So these are like the little transmitters that are in our nervous system, in our brain and spinal cord. And most of our serotonin, which is an endorphin that makes us feel good, is actually in our guts. And digestive disturbances are related to what we think and feel. So if you've were tuned into one of my other sessions talking about my nervous system, and how the science of psychoneuroimmunology explores how, yes, what we think affects our nervous systems, affects our immune systems. And as stress increases, our gut issues increase, and then gut disturbances send signals to the brain and vice versa. So these things are very, very much connected. And if we look at autoimmune diseases like Crohn's disease, for instance, which is very much associated with the small intestine, it is very much associated with high cortisol levels related to high and chronic stress in the body. So there's definitely a connection with the gut and brain. Okay, so I remember when I was writing this and I was going through my notes, I started to really feel this sense of how my knowing got damaged by emotional abuse and by gaslighting. And gaslighting is when we know something, but we're being told something else. So we know something, we know experience something, we know we feel something, but we're being told that didn't happen. I didn't say that. Oh, you didn't see that. You just imagined it. You're overreacting. All these kinds of gaslighting that we receive are emotional abuses that damage our knowing, but it causes us to doubt ourselves and doubt what we actually know in our guts, in our emotions, and actually in our intellect too. Sexual trauma is especially damaging. And our bodies can actually be responding to sexual trauma at the same time when we know that we are being abused, when we know that it's wrong, and it feels really wrong, and it feels damaging and abusive to us. And racial gaslighting and racial violence and gender violence and cultural violence, all of these things when we feel our voices are not heard. And from all of these kinds of abuse that damage our knowing, our hope gets crushed and we become cynical. And then if we have insufficient support, we get trapped in a cycle of making poor decisions for ourselves and hurting ourselves. So you know what? Take a deep breath with me. Okay, this is it's hard stuff for me to talk about actually, and it's hard stuff to think about. So just close your eyes for a sec and take a deep breath. And we'll breathe in for 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just hold for 1 and breathe out for 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Good. When we do that kind of breathing, it really helps our vagus nerve communicate with our sympathetic nervous system and our parasympathetic nervous system to just down regulate our stress and cortisol levels in the body. Okay, so having said all that, and I do have some more self-care for you today. I've got a really neat thing I want to teach you. That giving time and attention to ourselves is how we start to reverse this damage to our knowing and our instincts. And so a few quotes for your attention is the rarest and purest form of generosity to ourselves and to each other. And giving passionate attention to the detail around us and in us, Virginia Woolf. And one of my favorite Zen teachers, time and attention are our 2 greatest commodities, Adyashanti. And so just be aware and be careful of where your time and attention are going, and knowing that what you give your time and attention to is what shows up in your experience. Okay, I have a great tool for you I want to teach you. It's called Emotional Freedom Technique, or EFT. I actually don't really like that name, so sorry. I like to call it tapping. So let's call this tapping into our knowing and finding ways to become more solid in what we know in our bodies. This tapping, if you haven't done it before, it's wonderful. If you have done it before, do it with me. You're going to love it. And it's such a great tool to do for ourselves and to teach to others. It's a psychotherapeutic integration tool. It was developed in the 1970s and used widely in clinical trials for mental health treatment, addictions, trauma, implementing positive goals, altering physiological symptoms, even for blood pressure and pain, and et cetera, and many other physiological symptoms, and uses tapping on acupoints. So these are all acupoints. And affirmations are used, and I'm going to show you the shortcut sequence. We use 10 tapping areas. Okay, so these are the tapping points, and I would invite you to tap on them as we kind of work our way through them, just so you know when we actually do the sequence together. First one's called the karate chop point. So it's on the side of your hand. We got nice pictures here. Karate chop point, you just tap right here. That's called the setup point. So go ahead and tap there. So use your right hand if you're right-handed to tap on your left hand, and vice versa if you're left-handed. And then we go to the top of the head. So if you were to draw a line from the top of your ears to the top of your skull and line it up with your nose, that's where you would tap right there, top of your head. And then the inside of your eyebrow, and the outside of where the hair ends on your eyebrow, then underneath your eye, right on the bone there, and then under your nose on your upper lip, and then under your lip on your chin, and then find your collarbones and just go just below them. There's kind of a soft spot there, so below your collarbones. And then the sides of the chest. Okay, so if you were to draw a line from your armpit to your pelvis, it's about in the middle at about your 6th rib. So you can do it kind of like the monkey way, or cross your arms across if you can, tapping there, side of the chest. And then finally, there's 3 points across the wrist, and you can use the tips of your fingers to tap on those. Okay, so that's basically the tapping points. Now, and you might think, well, that's a lot to remember, but I had a good friend who was a, he's passed away now, but he was a drug and alcohol counselor here at one of the agencies in town and working with a lot of homeless folks. And he taught this to everybody. And you'd see folks just walking around tapping all over town, and he'd write it on a card for them. So it's actually, you'll see, it's very easy to teach and very easy to use. It's very, very friendly. So these are the 4 sort of instructions for doing on it. So what we do is, first of all, focus on something that's distressing to you. It can be physical, emotional, or mental. So just go ahead and find something. Might be a thought that's been kind of plaguing you. It might be something like an emotional thing, like a worry about something. It could be something physical. I'm going to make mine physical today, and I'll tell you in a minute. But yeah, so it could be something physical that's bothering you at the moment. So once you've got that focus, give that a subjective number of distress between 1 and 10. So 10 would be the highest. Okay, you with me? And there's a handout for this. You don't have to remember all this. Just be in the moment and do it with me. The third part is the affirmation. So, the way the EFT usually does the affirmation, they say, even though I have this thing, I totally love and accept myself. And that might not be true for you right now. You might just be feeling kind of stressed and freaked out. So even though I have this, whatever it is that's going on for you, I am willing to feel this right now. Okay, and that's key, that we're willing to be where we're at with it. And then we start tapping our acupoints. So let's do this together. Okay, and let me tell you what mine is. So mine is, I've got a headache, and sometimes I get a headache if I'm not breathing enough. And sometimes on these broadcasts, I find myself getting tense because it's weird. The technology is weird for me. I want to be in a room with people just like all of you do. I want to see people's faces, and all I see is my face and a screen in front of me. And so I get a headache. And so I just want to acknowledge that. And so with tapping, we're not dismissing or avoiding what we're experiencing. We're willing to feel it and observe it and allow it to be. And remember, what we give in our time and attention to is what grows in our experience. So I'm going to give my time and attention to myself and my tenderness to myself, and acknowledge that, yeah, I've got a headache right now. So I'm going to start with the tapping, and I invite you to do the same. I'm going to say, even though I have this headache, I'm willing to feel this right now, and keep on breathing it. Okay, and then I'm going to move to the top of my head. And even though I have this headache right now, I'm willing to feel this. I'm willing to be where I'm at with it. I'm going to move to the inner brow. And even though I have this headache right now, I recognize I can take a deep breath, and I'm willing to feel this right now. And I move to my outer brows. And even though I have this headache right now, I'm willing to feel this, and I'm willing for it to just be what it is. Maybe give me some information. And I'm going to go underneath my eye now. And even though I have this headache right now, I recognize that it's probably just about not breathing enough. And I'm willing to let it be. And my upper lip, and even though I have this headache right now, I'm willing to feel this because it helps me to know what I'm feeling. And on my lower lip, and even though I have this headache right now, I'm willing to feel this. And I can feel how it's actually easing. And I go to my collarbones and just underneath. And even though I have this headache right now, I'm feeling more present. And I'm willing to feel this. And it's okay. I'm going to my rib cage. And even though I have this headache right now, take some deep breaths. I'm willing to feel this. And on my wrist. And even though I have this headache right now, I'm willing to feel this. And I'm willing to let it be. I'm also willing for it to change. Okay, so now the instruction for all of you and all of me is just to let it settle. Just when we do any kind of self-care like this, give it time. We don't need things that change like that, right? We're used to things, you're used to wanting things to change like that. So I will tell you right now, by acknowledging that I had this headache and by giving myself some care and being willing to feel it, that my head still has some tightness, but I feel more open about it. I actually feel it receding. So it's pretty interesting. Pretty interesting thing. So, you know what? I want to go back to that slide for a sec. Go back to the slide before, maybe even the one before that. Good thing I'm controlling the slides. You know, these tapping points, I want to tell you too that they're all acupoints and they all have a meaning to them. There's a reason why these tapping points, these particular points are being used, because there's over 500 points, acupoints on the body. And this whole strategy for these particular tapping points in terms of yin and yang is the first 5 places we tap are yang. So that's to get something moving. That's what yang is. It's energy that moves up and that is assertive and active. And then the last 5 points are yin, and they're integrative and they're settling and they're taking the information in and letting it settle. And you know, each point, as I said, is an acupoint. One of my favorite ones, the top of the head one where we tap, that's called Bai Wei. It means 100 meeting points. And the ones under the arm, this is the last point on the spleen channel. So if you were with me 2 weeks ago when we talked about the spleen, this is the last point on the spleen channel on the side of your rib cage there. And the point is called Da Bao. And Da Bao means big embrace. So I love that we're actually, if you tap this way, you can give yourself a hug at the same time. But there's something about that point, that the big embrace is believing that we are embraced, we are carried by the world. The last 3 points are all Yuan points. And again, relating back to the last session, Yuan meaning ancestral points. So we've got the lung Yuan point, we've got the pericardium that surrounds the heart, and then we've got the heart meridian. So all 3 of those Yuan points, we're tapping those at the very end and integrating something in a yin way and just kind of taking it in, soaking it in, and soaking it right into our ancestral chi. So I want to share that with you too. I was asked a few years ago to speak at Bastyr Natural Medicine College on why we use these particular points in EFT tapping. And so while doing some research, I was really amazed by just the depth of those points and why we use them. So I hope that through what I'm saying here, you can understand how important our feelings are, acknowledging our feelings and allowing our feelings. That's what actually allows us to tap into our deepest instincts. Because when we push our feelings away and when we numb our feelings, we numb our pain. Yes, we might be numbing that with whatever method we're using, eating too much, drinking too much, smoking too much, whatever we're doing to numb ourselves, but we're also numbing our joy. And so by allowing our feelings and using these self-care things like the tapping technique and just really gently sort of uncovering and kind of picking apart that ball of twine that might have been held all together in twisted knots for so long, we allow these feelings, and it's kind of scary. It can be kind of really weird at first, but we need a lot of support. And so that's why we're here together with each other, and all of the wonderful programs that MHTTC is providing. But, talking to your friends and having a good counselor that you can speak to, because if things have been buried for a long time, we do need lots of support in helping them come out. And, from the things that we find that are buried from our exploration, we gather our courage and our insight from facing these things. And that's where our instinctive knowing comes from. That's how we heal the damage that has been done through the abuse that we've suffered. What a wonderful thing the tapping is, because we're not dismissing or avoiding it. We just observe that this is what's going on for me, and we go through it, and we take care of ourselves. And yeah, feelings are just, it's what it's all about, is allowing our feelings. When we block our feelings, we just become numb, and we numb to the pain, and we numb to the knowing, and we numb to the joy. And so really there's no way around being a full human being without just feeling. And yes, it's scary. Yes, it's like I can remember it feeling like a bottomless pit when I started to look at my feelings. That's why we need lots of support. But every time we step into that scary area, we can gather courage and insight and face our fears. And that's how we untangle the whole mess of how we got damaged to our knowing. It's really worth it. I wanted to give you this neat little way of checking in with yourself and observing your knowing and cultivating your knowing throughout the day. And you can just do this anytime. It's just recognize what feels like yes inside and what feels like no inside. So, even the simplest thing, like, what am I going to wear today? This feels like yes, nice and colorful today. That's it just, I could feel that felt good, whereas I looked at the black one, it was like, no, that didn't feel right. Now that seems overly simplistic, but as we cultivate with the really easy ways of knowing, then it becomes more of a habit. It becomes a path that we can walk towards the more difficult decisions, even with foods that you like or don't like, or what street you're going to walk home on, or what decision you're going to make about a book that you're going to read. Like, go into a bookstore and just let your feelings guide you to the right shelf to take a book that's going to bring you something. And I remember that's how I chose Pema Chodron's book, When Things Fall Apart. So throughout your day, just do those things, and you will find that will pay you back. Integration makes us whole. So I hope that my musings here today have made it possible for you to look at how important it is to feel. And like Mary Oliver, wonderful poet, if you don't know her poems, go check them out. But she says, attention without feeling is only a report. So we can pay attention to things, but if we don't allow ourselves to become engaged with them, it's only a report. So all these fragmented parts of us, when we allow ourselves to feel, those all come together, and that damage to our knowing starts to become healed. And then lastly, thanks for sticking with me through all this, is the more we practice, the more we pay attention to ourselves, the more we give ourselves time and attention, And the more we're gentle with our fear and we're able to embrace it, the more the fear goes away. So isn't that a beautiful thing from said by Thich Nhat Hanh? He's a Vietnamese sage as far as I'm concerned. So thank you so much for being with me. And back to you, Christina.
Oh, but they got so much of me already while you were gone. We talked about how I met you, how we'd see each other at conferences. We had
Oh,
a whole tour of everything. It was fantastic. But this is how it is right now. That's how I
it
feel.
is.
So it's pretty amazing. Let me go ahead and I'm going to go back to my screen sharing, and hopefully you are seeing my slide. Is that yes?
Yeah, the feedback.
Okay, excellent. Something worked. So your feedback is super important. And so again, eval link is in the chat. It really just takes a couple minutes. Tech issues aside, so glad most of you stuck with us. I think most all of everybody. So thank you for, we do what we can. And yeah, let's connect. If you, I know I had asked at some point where you heard about this event, but there's a newsletter you can sign up for. We do some social media things. We have a website. And so please do sign up for anything that if you want to know about these things. As soon as they're developed. The slides, yes, I'm actually uploading the slides as we speak. So I fixed the typo, so thanks for that. I love a copy editor out there. And so we will have those up as shortly as I can correct them. After that, thank you so much. And oh, there is a question. I almost forgot the questions.
Good. I was hoping it would be.
Yeah, that's something because we're so early. And if you have a question, we are still here till 12. One, Janelle put in early on, could the number of neurotransmitters in our gut explain why we emotionally eat? And I'm sure you have some interesting thoughts on that. So
Yeah, it's really interesting about how all these neurotransmitters are in our gut because yes, our brain tells our gut when we feel like we want to eat, and it might not be because of hunger, it might be because we're feeling emotional. So all of this, enteric brain communicates with our brain, and yes, it's why we emotionally eat. It's why we emotionally maybe don't eat. Eating disorders like anorexia and bulimia definitely connected to stress and the gut and that enteric brain connection. And like I said, autoimmune diseases like Crohn's disease. So, again, awareness and gentleness with ourselves is the key to these things. Just to, and even asking ourselves, and what's going on here? I feel like I want to eat right now, and I'm curious about this. And so, tap on that, or use even the Byron Katie from the last session that I did, the 4 questions. Well, is this true that I'm hungry? And am I sure that it's true? And how do I feel when I believe that? And who would I be if I wasn't thinking that I need to eat right now? So, there's so many self-care things we can do around awareness for how we choose to treat our bodies.
thank you. We have another really great question. Paulette asks, is there a way to address cultivating trust? I've noticed that I often have not trusted my inner knowing, brushed it off as imagination. So I think a lot of folks feel, what's intuition? Is it true information? But how do you learn to, especially as you're describing gaslighting in the beginning, I thought that was pretty powerful. And you sort of know in your gut, maybe even before your head knows or your heart wants to accept, right? And so how would you approach cultivating trust?
Yeah. Well, there's that little exercise that I suggested at the end, just throughout your day, um, registering when you feel yes inside, what feels like yes and what feels like no. And then, even keeping a journal. I think journaling is a wonderful way to look at what's going on with us. And so seeing the decisions that you make, it's following your process of how that decision was made, and giving yourself lots of support for when decisions didn't turn out the way you hoped they did, and what you maybe learned from that. and also decisions that you made that turned out in a way that felt really good and felt really solid in you, and giving yourself lots of props for that. And I want to, we have a really short thing because we've got 5 minutes still. Okay, because I'll tell you, when I decided that I wanted to study Chinese medicine, I was working for as a paramedic for BC Ambulance for 14 years, and it's a good job and all that. And I was getting acupuncture, and I just decided, whoa, I'm going to quit the ambulance service and go back to school full time and study Chinese medicine, get student loans. And people were like, "You're crazy." But as soon as I decided that, everything felt exactly right in me. It's like there was no question in my head. There was no second guessing myself, and my gut felt nice and solid and not quivering at all. And that's when I started to see, oh, this is what integration means. This is when what I decided feels all aligned. And so just to recognize, because we all have that. So recognize when that's happening in you, and remember it, and give yourself some support for that.
Well, I'll share a funny anecdote just because it's on my mind. I have a good friend who's an acupuncturist as well. And so I'm always, learning from her. And I had not had acupuncture before meeting her 10 years ago. And just this week, I don't know if one of the things we heard from another webinar presenter was just all the physical effects. You've mentioned this too, sleep and eating and our guts and all our physical effects of being under these various stressful conditions, whatever they are. It's the pandemic, it's racial violence, it's kids doing screens for school, it's whatever the issue is. But I finally reached out to her and said, I'm just going to lose it. I've just not been getting good sleep. And I went to her place. She has a practice in a yurt by next to her house. And I fell asleep immediately with those needles in.
Oh.
It was just remarkable. And so I am not an expert on East Asian medicine, but I just know when it's working, it's working. And,
Oh, the right place.
she did. I woke up like, I think snoring. But I like, oh, I totally, it was
Yeah,
only there for 40 minutes. So, but yeah,
people
I
do
don't,
sleep on the table. Yeah.
yeah. But I think that's a huge sign that, we're very distracted. We have a lot of stress. We have a lot of strain. And I just think it's really helpful to remember these practices. It does feel like I don't have energy to do much more or to stop and do something else. But as I remember, sort of learning the hard way over and over, I'm still learning, when you're frantic and you're busy and you're trying to do too much, you're probably not going to do it well. And it's going to come out, and kind of doing the things to take care of ourselves is actually taking care of those around us, right? And so that's
Got that right.
quite so
Yeah.
reading Pema Chodron's book right now,
Yeah.
so it's really helpful. Yeah, so good. Yeah, go get the acupuncture if you can see folks and have it covered and all of that. So anyway, well, I know we are rounding the corner. Let me see, there's one more question. Oh yes, have you read any Sabina Williams? I'm not sure I'm going to pronounce right. Sabine Wilms translations of Chinese medicine.
Oh,
Okay, so we'll make sure it was in the
Sabina Williams.
Sabina. Well, I'm going to put it in the,
Okay.
if people can see the questions, I think, but this is
I
the
don't.
name in the chat.
Oh,
Um,
Sabine
Sabine
Wilms.
Wilms. There we go. Thank you. But no, so that's a really great
Cool.
recommendation.
I'm
So
I'm a TCM nerd, so I'll read anything.
yeah,
Yeah.
nice. Awesome.
Nice.
Okay. Well, again, thanks to everybody for hanging in
Thank
and
you.
doing your eval. And Rebecca, thanks for persevering. I was like, Sanan, are you out there?
Yeah, honey, help. Yeah.
Yeah, if it, and for those of you who'll just laugh, because I was trying, we're trying to cover a lot of events this week, and I said, I think I can do it by myself. Our team doesn't need to also help. So can you imagine? I mean, today was just sort of, we're ready for an exciting adventure today, but we got through it. So
Thank
thank
you.
you
You're
for
awesome. Thank you
thanks.
so
Thank you,
much.
Rebecca. Thanks
Thanks,
to our team,
everybody.
Rebecca. Bye. Have a
Great to
great
be with you.
weekend.
See you next
Bye.
time. Bye.
Thanks.